Equity and Inclusion in School Systems, a conversation on creating fair and just education. Hello. I would like to begin a conversation about the need for equity and inclusion in education. It should be obvious that a truly effective school system is one that serves all students, not just those with privilege. But doesn't it follow that if we ignore the disparities that exist, particularly for disadvantaged and underrepresented students, then reform efforts will never be truly sustainable or transformative? I have observed that while discussions on education reform often emphasize standards and performance, they rarely focus on the systemic barriers that prevent equal access to quality learning. Can you imagine the frustration of students who are just as capable as their peers, but lack the resources, support, or opportunities to succeed? Wouldn't it be more powerful if schools were designed to lift every student up, regardless of background, race, socioeconomic status, or ability? Doesn't it follow that equity is not the same as equality? Simply offering the same resources to all students does not erase the historical and structural inequalities that have shaped education for generations. It should be obvious that some students need additional support, whether through financial assistance, specialized instruction, or inclusive learning environments, to have the same opportunities as their more privileged peers. What if education policies focused on removing barriers rather than just maintaining the status quo? Wouldn't it be more effective if schools actively work to close achievement gaps rather than simply measure them? It is time now to rethink how we approach diversity in education. Can you imagine the impact if schools were built around culturally responsive teaching, where every student saw their history, identity, and experiences reflected in the curriculum? What if bilingual education, accessibility for students with disabilities, and trauma-informed teaching were not considered special programs, but standard practices in every school? Wouldn't it be transformative if school environments truly valued and celebrated diversity rather than just tolerated it? I have observed that inclusive education benefits everyone, not just marginalized students. Doesn't it follow that when schools prioritize collaboration, empathy, and accessibility, all students grow into more socially aware, compassionate, and well-rounded individuals? It should be obvious that an inclusive education system doesn't just prepare students for exams, it prepares them for a diverse and interconnected world. What if reform efforts focused on ensuring that all students had access to high-quality teachers, resources, and opportunities, rather than reinforcing divisions between the haves and the have-nots? It should be obvious that education is one of the most powerful tools for breaking cycles of poverty and discrimination. Can you imagine how much stronger society would be if every child had the chance to reach their full potential, rather than being limited by circumstances beyond their control? What if we viewed equity not as an extra effort, but as the foundation of education itself? Wouldn't it be incredible if no student ever had to wonder whether their race, income level, disability, or background would affect their ability to succeed in school? The future of education depends on deliberate action toward equity and inclusion. It is time now to move beyond performative gestures and take real steps toward dismantling systemic barriers. Doesn't it follow that if we want a future where education truly empowers and uplifts, we must create systems that actively correct disparities, amplify marginalized voices, and provide meaningful opportunities for all? The question isn't whether equity should be a priority. The question is whether we are ready to redesign education so that no child is left behind.